How would you describe yourself as a child, though? Like, were you really social? Were you quiet?
Antisocial, shy as fuck. And so when you're not funny, because you're little, your knee jerk is like, you're going to be kind of violent. So if you fucked with me, I'll be passive to it. Basically, I'd be passive long enough to bait you into thinking that you had me.
Gotcha.
And then when you thought you could talk to me any way you wanted, pick up a fucking, my parents' keys and put one in between each finger and rip your face open. So I was definitely in a lot of trouble as a kid for that shit. Actually, I don't give a fuck. I don't take any of that back. Motherfuckers that would pick on you because you're quiet. They do it because, they think you're weaker than them. Like, you can't just leave me the fuck alone. I'm over here doing this thing. Now they got to fuck with you. So they'd fuck with you. And then when you buck back, I'm the wrong dude to fuck with on that one.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a lot of trouble. And also I didn't have trouble with school. Like, I was smart as fuck. So that would always be the thing in the principal's office. And he'd be like, I don't understand it. You're a handsome kid and you're smart. And that laugh right there, that was always the thing. Every time he said, like, what the fuck does handsome have to do with this? Because I'm like, I'm handsome. I'm like, you're out of your fucking, that's how I always thought he was lying, handsome.
Wait, you had hair then, though?
Oh, yeah, I had, sure. I will email you the fucking picture. I'll send you.
No, I'm just playing. I know you had hair. I'm just saying.
Well, I had like the ultimate bowl cut. I'll send it to you when we're done. You put it in there. Like, it's horrible. It's so bad. It's like a modern art masterpiece. Like, just then put the bowl on your head all the way around. Yeah, there.
Yeah. So you basically were really intelligent, but at the same time, your issues were more behavioral than anything.
I was bored.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Was the class moving too slowly for you?
The class didn't exist to me. The class with all that, like, especially like math and shit like that, was just no problem. I loved it, but I'm down the road. Like, you're doing addition. I want to do trigonometry. And it was just easy. It was just second nature. So I hated it. So that's where my dad would offset it with, like, we'll put a basketball hoop in the driveway, because he knew, I'd go out there and, like, free throws for hours. Just go. Just shoot. Repetition, muscle memory. So same with DJing. That's how that happened. I'm in the room. Now I'm not outside doing anything stupid. All I want to do is scratch and learn how to do all that. So that was me in the bedroom. And that would be my mom. She'd come in, are you on fucking drugs? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, are you doing drugs? I'm like, I'm scratching. You're on fucking drugs. And my dad would come in like, what are you doing? Like, scratching. He'd be like, let me hear it. And I'd show him like a transition, a movie thing with this and this and this. And I had all this weird shit. I didn't have a 4-track. I was just kind of building it on my own. And he would be like, how are you doing that? I'm like, well, I don't know. But these are what I have, and I'm making use of what I have. And like, he thought it was great. And then, she'd come back in like, he is fucking on drugs. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That was a constant. The first fucking show I played with my homie G Fresh, and we got paid like $1,000. We split it 5 and 5. And I came back home super proud, and I put the $500 down to show my dad. I made fucking $500 DJing for, I did my thing, and he rapped, and I DJed for him. And she goes, my dad is like, that's awesome. And she goes, you're selling drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, that really happened.
So with that kind of expectation of, like, no matter how good you're doing, basically, and the worst is always being expected of you, right? From your mom's perspective, although your dad did a great job balancing out the other side of, how did that affect you from receiving that kind of response from her always?
Quite honestly, it just made me go, fuck you. Like, I didn't care. Because, so I moved out when I was 16 years old. I was still in high school. crashed and burned, came back, moved out again. We're talking, you're trying to pay rent and shit like that when you're 17, and go to high school and shit. Left twice, crashed and burned twice, left for a while, and then came back for like a year when I was like 19. And then after that, I never looked back. I just didn't give a fuck what she had to say. And so as time went on, she would have less to say because the older I got, the more vocal I would be back to her. And I don't mean yelling. I would just call her out on the shit. And she would back down. So that was the thing, is like a bully. The minute you push back, the minute you press them back, they kind of fold.
So did your dad ever defend you in front of your mom?
All the time.
And what would she say?
She would back down to him too. And he wasn't even mean about it. I remember the first time they actually got to see a show was when I was in Atmosphere, it was in Florida. And they were in Florida on vacation. They came to the show. And, my dad knew what to expect. He had seen videos, but she saw it. And that changed the whole demeanor of her. And so from that point on, I shit you not, she'd be like, well, you guys are going on tour. You want to stop and buy me this in this city? And that really happened. She would be like, if you're so rich and on tour, could you buy me? She collects dolls. Collected dolls, like fancy, like big porcelain. The dolls that look like they want to kill you. I have a whole room full of them back there. But yeah, so it turned into a thing where it looked like you could tap my money. Like she wanted me to buy dolls for her.
So going back a little bit, right? When you were in elementary school, that's when you started to show interest in wanting to play instruments, right? You wanted to play the drums, but they gave you the trumpet.
Gave me the trumpet. Yes, they did. And man, I was fucking gangster at the trumpet. I could still play. Actually, a family friend of ours, Kingston, he is like in those competition marching band things, like on ESPN and shit. He's like in one of those elite bands, and they came to visit. They were up here from Florida and came to visit, and he brought all this stuff, and he intentionally brought this really nice trumpet. He was like, you think he can still play? And I'm like, nah. But when I picked it up, I could still, it felt like I was in 6th fucking grade, like getting ready to play again. But the minute I did it, I could still hold a note. And so sat there and played the trumpet again. No, I loved it. Like, did I want to play the drums? Yes. But the trumpet was fun too, because it was still music.
So what did you end up doing after that? After the trumpet?
So the timeline goes, that's like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. That's that window there. Mm-hmm. So 7th grade, that was like the introduction of b-boying to us. And so b-boying, and I saw like the first real footage of someone scratching. And graffiti was kind of always a thing because you just want to write your name on the wall. We didn't know if it didn't have shit to do with any of that to us. Like Daryl, you just fuck Slayer, like you didn't think about like what you could do. You just, it's the graffiti part will never go away because you want people to know you were there. So you're going to write your fucking name. It's caveman drawing of me spearing a deer because now you know I did it. So graffiti existed. We just didn't know that was graffiti. But the first time I saw b-boying, I was like, that's what I'm doing. So that was the Radio Clash video. There's b-boying in the Radio Clash video. And I actually randomly saw Style Wars on PBS. Like neighbors called like, oh, yeah, it's doing this thing that you do. And there's Style Wars. So that was kind of the blueprint. And Style Wars taught us all of it. I saw DJing that. And then I wanted to be a DJ. There's no one that could show me anything. And then like any DJ from my era would say, Herbie Hancock Rocket, Grand Mixer DST. And I still have the videotape. And like you studied, you're like, holy shit, that's where you, because before that, you're like taking the orange children's turntable, just ripping your needle across, thinking that's what scratching is. But then we saw him, and then I'm like, b-boying and scratching. Graffiti was for fun.
So you were like 12 at this time, right? Because this was 1983, right?
Literally, I was 12, yes.
That's
I was
crazy,
12.
man.
So that's all I gave a fuck about. So I was still doing sports, still playing the trumpet, still in martial arts. Then hip hop happened, right? And I kind of just had to kind of get rid of things as they became less relevant to what I wanted to do. Like the further into DJ I got, I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I vividly remember telling my parents, like, my dad anyway, I'm going to do this. I'm gonna be a DJ. And he would watch. He'd sit there and I had his big ass receiver with the volume knob, and he had bought me a Technics turntable, like a straight arm one, but it had a pitch control on it. And so I would play MTV, VH1, BET, USA. If it had music on it, I would just sit there and scratch to it. But the volume knob was the fader. So you're turning there, 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 there. And he came down one time and he's like, how the fuck how do you even know how to do that? Like the mixer thing you're talking about goes like this. And I'm like, I don't know, it's volume knob. I learned it on a volume knob. And he was like, that's fucking really impressive. And that's how I ended up getting the first mixer. He was like, maybe we need to go to Radio Shack. And that's what we did. We went to Radio Shack and got the 2 up channel fucking no crossfader mixer.
But the turntable was like what, your only Christmas gift one year or something like that? Like that's what you asked for, right?
Yeah. And my dad was so him and all the dudes in his family were all like kind of hi-fi guys. So the other dudes would have like, the wall of chrome TIAC bullshit on the wall. And then my dad would go with the wood grain, all that shit. And they would literally argue back and forth. And that was 8-track days. Put the 8-track in. And then I told him I wanted a turntable. And so he's going to get the best possible thing because he thinks he's going to use it in his hi-fi too. And then he saw me scratching on it. When he finally watched me do it, he's like, yeah, I'll just get my own turntable. Clearly you have different plans for this one. And so, yeah. So I just sat there literally like where I am now, like in front of a TV with a volume knob, watching videos and just scratching to everything.
And it took you like 6 months to really get scratching down?
So I did have a friend, Sean Jones, that was a DJ. And that's the dude that kind of taught me how to buy records, like what to look for. Like he knew what day all the hip hop shit showed up at stores. And so he was like, yeah, if you Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then here's these record stores, and I would go over to his house. I wouldn't eat. I would take the lunch money. And if you went all week, you could go buy a 12-inch or 2 at the record store, or if they had 99-cent records, you did that. I would ride back. I still have records that have teeth marks in the top of the slipcover because you already have a backpack. You ride with them in your mouth. I'd go back to him and he'd be like, this is trash, dope, dope, dope. And that's how I learned how to buy records. And then he kind of showed me like the basics of mixing. Like in retrospect, he was good, but not incredible with the basics of the mixing part. He's like, look, snare, boom, boom, hit it there. And so I learned to mix for him.
But also you went like hungry for like 3 years, basically, from not eating for lunch to save up for records.
I didn't eat in middle school. So 7th, 8th, 9th grade in high school and 10th grade, I made like the first mixtape. And then cats were really buying it. So then I could make a couple $100 in a week selling the mixtape, and then I could eat and buy records, not be broke. And then I had a job too. So when I had the job, like for a teenager, I was, raking it in, I guess. The mixtapes were cool though, like $5. I would I made you a tape. I didn't sell the same tape. I made you a tape, and then you're like, I want a tape. And I made you a 90-minute tape for 5 hours. Just me in the bedroom.
Damn, that's crazy. Do you still have any of those old ones?
The closest I have is probably late 90s. Might have a couple of those. And I know a dude, one of the Rob Victim from Texas, we actually met on like Prodigy way back in the day, like AOL and Prodigy. And he bought one and I made him a tape like that. And he probably still has that one. Just 90 minutes and just made custom mixtapes. Like looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I even know how to tie my fucking shoes if I was making 20 tapes a week. I didn't do shit. You wanted a tape, I made you a tape. And then you dub it and someone go like, can you make me a tape? Then I make them a tape. That's all I did.